Welcome, everyone. Good evening. We're so happy that you're all here and register. And like the sign said, please, brothers and sisters, introduce yourself in the chat. And so that way we could know each one of you and welcoming you. And I hope you're having a good evening. And I'm going to pass this to Amy Zhu. Just remember your housekeeping items. We're recording. That's one. If you have any question, please raise your hand, or you could do the questions on the chat as well, and we will answer accordingly. Thank you for participating and being part of this workshop right here. And please make sure that you mute yourselves so you could listen to our speaker. And Amy is going to take over right after this. Thank you.
So before we begin the formal part, we're just going to review our community norms and practices. The PSC has approved the community norms and practices, and these should guide how we communicate with one another. So please follow along with me as I read these out loud. Respect for everyone's worth is fundamental to a university, and particularly to CUNY, which was founded on principles of inclusion. We commit ourselves to nurture a work environment that honors the dignity of all, is respectful and free from discrimination, harassment, or bullying, and we therefore agree to respect each other's differences and to create a healthy, safe, and rewarding environment that nurtures, challenges, and supports the community. In order for our community to function in this way, it is useful for its individual members to make the following commitments. 1. I commit to conduct that is mutually respectful and not discriminatory, harassing, bullying, or threatening. 2, I take responsibility for my actions and my personal perspectives, recognizing that there may be disagreements with another's. 3, I will respect everyone's contributions and honor the roles and responsibilities of all members through my words and actions. 4, I will be mindful and reflect on how I might be using or misusing my power and privilege in my interactions. 5, I will intend to be inclusive and support others with the same respect and compassion that I want for myself. 6, I am willing to be an active ally and upstander by speaking, intervening, or acting on behalf of a person being attacked or bullied. 7, I will seek to understand others and assume best intentions in all interactions. 8, I will seek to understand other perspectives and avoid making assumptions. 9, I commit to listen actively and with compassion at the workplace and in all union meetings. Okay. So tonight's training, Tackling Bullying through Assertiveness Training, will be conducted by a member of the PSC Anti-Bullying Committee. Clara Weingart is a professor of mathematics at Queensborough Community College, and she's written extensively on workplace bullying. Clara has lectured on this issue, appeared in the anti-bullying panel discussions, presented on radio programs, and has an internet TV programming on End Bullying Now on the Bold Brave TV network. Her goal is to work on eradicating workplace bullying once and for all. So I'm going to hand it over to Clara. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Amy. So we're going to start with tackling bullying through assertiveness training. There's one comment that I'd like to say before we start. This is not to be taken negatively in any way. Some of us are assertive sometimes we're not assertive, depending on the situation. But the issue is that we want to work in a psychologically safe working environment where we feel comfortable, we ask questions, we voice our opinions, we challenge material being offered, and there's no fear of being judged. And that's really what we want. And we want our employer to be respectful, empathetic, address negatively in a cool manner, active listening. And so very often we find that our employer, it can be part of a toxic work environment. and we endure some offensive conduct as conduct which is so bad that it's hostile, intimidating, and abusive. And so we're developing tools and strategies here so that we can cope with this type of environment. And that's really the point of this training. And I think it's very important. So let's start with the first slide. And this is what we'd like to discuss. We're going to talk about a definition of bullying and examples. We're going to talk about assertiveness, what it means, including passive, aggressive communication with contact. What happens when one is not assertive in a bullying situation? How do we practice becoming assertive, maximizing the chance of getting what we want? And then we have our assessments and scenarios that we'll get to at the end. But I hope that you will find this very rewarding. So let's start with the definition of workplace bullying. And when we talk about workplace bullying, there's basically 4 characteristics that I think of. There's a pattern of action that is happening. It's repeated actions or threats. There's a power imbalance, and there's an intention to cause harm, usually by the bully. And so it's repeated unreasonable actions aimed at intimidating, humiliating, degrading, or demeaning an employee or group of employees. And it creates a risk to the employee's health and safety. It creates feelings of defenselessness and injustice to the target, and undermines an individual's right to dignity at work. And so we want to offer that if we can learn more about assertiveness, then we can empower ourselves to cope during these times when we are part of bullying situations, either as a target or as a bystander, but we can better cope. It'll be some skills and strategies that will help us in such environments. So let's talk about examples so that we can all identify with what we're talking about. Insulting or offensive language. Get over a period of time. It's not a one-shot deal generally, but at a period of time directed at an employee. Spreading misinformation or malicious rumors, that could be gossip. Language that frightens and belittles. Critique, feedback that's delivered with yelling, screaming, threats, or insults. Making repeated inappropriate comments about a person's appearance, lifestyle, family, or culture. Inappropriately, regularly teasing or making someone the brunt of pranks or practical jokes, like when your boss says, "I'm just kidding." Inappropriately interfering with a person's personal property or work equipment, coming over to your desk and seeing what's on top of your desk. Circulating inappropriate or embarrassing photos or videos via email or social media. That's part of cyberbullying. Purposely, inappropriately excluding, isolating, or marginalizing someone from work activities. How often do we feel we're not part of a committee, or we've been isolated, or we're not asked to join, or there's some issue coming up, and on a basis that keeps on coming up, that's called bullying. So now that we've defined bullying, let's talk about what assertiveness is. And assertiveness is a behavior that communicates and expresses your thoughts, feelings, and opinions in a way that make your views and needs clearly understood by others without putting down their thoughts, feelings, or opinions. When your boss says to you, "I'd like you to stay after 5 o'clock today," and we'll get back to that example, and you say, I'm sorry, I can't stay tonight, but maybe another night. What you're doing is you're being honest about your feelings and your opinions or your rights without violating the rights of others. So let's talk about assertive person characteristics. And again, we need to keep in mind that in different situations, we're assertive, and other situations, we're not assertive. And we try to determine which situation requires assertiveness. Sometimes it's hard to tell. But in general, an assertive person has confidence in themselves. They respect the opinions of others. I'll let my boss say what he or she has to say, and I have my opinion about the situation. They have the ability to validate others' feelings. I accept that my boss says that to me. They are good listeners. They do problem solving and compromise. And those are some characteristics of assertive persons. Now, let's talk about examples of assertive statements. Thanks for thinking of me, but I'm going to say no this time. Or, unfortunately, I can't take on any more tasks at the moment. Or, please don't walk away from me while we're having this conversation. How many times have we had this where we speak to somebody, and usually a person who is in a different power position than you are, and the person's walking away, and you're having a conversation with the person? You can say, I respect your opinion, but let's agree to disagree. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. This means we practice on these statements. So let's make sure we understand what it means to be assertive. Let's talk about the effects of being unassertive. Okay, and what happens when you're unassertive is that you might be communicating in a passive manner. You're not really saying what you feel or think. Sometimes it's even being an aggressive, having an aggressive attitude. And again, you're not saying what you really think. But what happens is, in a passive manner, you can end up agreeing with the other person's needs or wants rather than your own. And then you end up having a lack of purpose and a feeling of not being in control of our lives. And soon we're going to talk about an example, an actual example, where you can have passive response versus aggressive response versus assertive response. So if we never express ourselves openly, but we conceal our thoughts and feelings, this will make us more tense when we're around the chair, let's say, or the supervisor. We have to see the chair or supervisor, we become tensed, stressed, anxious, resentful. We're afraid to say what we really feel. And then this leads to unhealthy and uncomfortable relationships. And we need to really understand what that means, that to say what we really feel. What we mean is within the boundaries of professional behavior. No, I'm sorry, I can't work on this project. I don't have the expertise for this, but I can learn how to do it. Perhaps you can work with me to teach me, and I can learn, or you can direct me someplace. Or you can say, no, I'm sorry, I can't stay tonight. I made an appointment for someone in my family, and so I can't stay tonight, but I really would like to. Perhaps we can revisit and I can work another time. And so when you're unassertive, it creates inside you some discomfort, and that you feel tense about what you want to express. And so it's better, healthy, more healthy to be assertive, expressing and being directly about what you need. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So what happens? Why did we become unassertive all of a sudden? Assertiveness is a learned behavior and thinking style. You know, if you watch a baby, babies cry when they want something. They express their emotion freely. And they're assertive. People come to them, a caretaker, a mother, someone who takes care of them, who comforts them. Babies express their feelings directly. But slowly, we adapt our behavior and we fit it in with the responses received from our environments. We learn these responses. It could be from family, from peers, from friends, from authority figures. If you're around a family or a peer group who deals with conflict by yelling and arguing, then maybe you'll learn how to deal with conflict that way too. Or if you're in a family where you deal with certain instances by being meek and submissive, maybe that's how you learn to deal with conflict and other instances that way too. And that it might be even a cultural situation. Or maybe you don't even express your negative emotion. And so what happens is you learn not to express negative emotion. So it becomes a learned response on how we deal with this. So let's talk about what stops us from being assertive. We have self-defeating beliefs. It's uncaring, rude, and selfish to say what you want. Well, if I assert myself, if I tell my boss, I can't come in on, I can't stay late, I'm going to upset my boss. Maybe I'll ruin my relationship. Maybe he'll fire me. We must feel confident in what we're doing and accept the circumstances, whatever they are. Maybe it'll be terribly embarrassing if I say what I think. These are self-defeating beliefs. Maybe I don't even know how to be assertive. I never learned how to be assertive. So that's another possibility. Maybe I just have anxiety and stress when I have to be assertive. And I find that I'm so stressed out that I can't even think and act clearly. So in that case, we need to learn how to manage our anxiety and reduce our physical stress. Maybe we can't tell, should I be assertive with my boss? Maybe I shouldn't be assertive with my boss. I can't tell. Maybe there's familial, cultural, generational influences on my behavior that keep me from speaking up and saying what I really want to say. But I'm offering that in a bullying situation, I'm offering that sometimes it helps to be assertive because you want to stop that bullying pattern. I see questions coming on. So are we asking the questions at the end? I think Pam is taking care of questions. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about some assertiveness tips. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to respect yourself. And I want to state what I need and what I want. I mean, if the boss tells me to stay later and I say, okay, I can stay later, but I know my family needs me, I'm not clearly stating my needs and wants. I need to be respectful of the rights of others, but I also need to be respectful of my rights and what I need to do. I also want to plan what I need to say because sometimes I don't know what to say. So what I need to do is maybe write it down and then I can express it better. Or maybe I don't want to really tell my boss what I think of him or her. I need to show self-regulation. So you know what I'll do? I'll express as much as I can in a calm and factual manner. I'll make the eye contact. I'll use a steady tone of voice. This takes practice. And I'll also learn to say no when I need to. I know that when I say no, I can't stay late. I know I can't make others happy all the time. but maybe I can stay late another time, but not today. So these are some assertiveness tips. And there's 4 essential steps to assertiveness communication. First, you tell the person what you think about their behavior without accusing them. If my boss comes in with a good morning and comes to me as the secretary, make me my coffee, and I have things for you to Xerox, you can say, could you please tell me in a calmer manner? Or please, it really affects me when you talk in that tone of voice. I'm ready to do whatever needs to be done for the job, but the tone of voice is disturbing me. You know, the boss may say to you, oh, she's sensitive or he's sensitive. It's not a question of what he or she, what the boss says. Okay, what it is that you want to say your behavior is not making me feel calm. It makes me feel anxious and stressed. And so with that, you'd say your behavior affects my relationship with you. I want to do the job. I want to do what's expected of me. But we need to talk in a level tone of voice. So I can tell my boss how I feel when they behave in a certain way. When you tell me, go and bring me the coffee, or go and bring me or make some copies on the machine, I can say, well, that tone of voice makes me feel anxious. And I'd like to work with you. Maybe if we say it a little more calmer, maybe that would be better. And so that's when you tell your boss, I prefer you to talk in a more level, calm a voice. So let's talk about the myths about assertiveness. The first one is that assertiveness is basically the same as being aggressive. Well, they're really on different levels. You know, if we talk about a line of thinking, a line of behavioral thinking, aggressive behavior generally takes a stronger tone of voice and body language, like it's sort of an attacking mode of behavior. And aggressive communication sounds like it's demanding, abrasive, or hostile. The boss asks me, I'd like you to stay late today. Oh, I can't stay late today. Why don't you ask Sally to stay late today? That means I'm disregarding the dignity of Sally. I don't know if Sally can stay late today. Or I don't want to get your coffee. You can ask John to get your coffee. Again, that's a very abrasive manner, very demanding and hostile towards your boss. So assertiveness is not the same as being aggressive. Now, if you're assertive, you don't necessarily get what you want. You're just expressing what you feel in a confident manner. And based on that, let's work together, let's collaborate, and let's see how we can get the job done. It doesn't mean that I have to be assertive in every situation. You know, it's a choice. I mean, if you find yourself in a violent situation and you see violence, maybe it's possible the passive response may be the way to go. And you don't want to speak up. It depends on how you view the situation. And that's really the myth about assertiveness. So let's compare aggressive, assertive, and passive behavior. And let's have an idea, and then we can go through examples as well. So we've already gotten some idea that passive behavior can be as submissive. It could be self-denying. I'm telling my boss that I can stay late tonight, but I'm not telling him that really I have a family date that I have to go to the doctor, or maybe I have to be at a parent-teacher conference, or maybe I made a date with my friend who I haven't seen in a long time. I'm not telling my boss. Aggressive behavior would say, well, go ask somebody else to stay late tonight. But when you're assertive, you'll say, I understand that you need some help tonight, but I made a date several weeks ago and I really can't change it. So I'm so sorry. But maybe what we can do is I'll stay late another night. So you respect the rights of others and you don't blame anyone while you're doing it. So here I have examples written out. For passive behavior, the project is too advanced for me, but I won't tell the boss. So I'll tell the boss I can do it. That leads to a lot of problems because the boss will figure out, your supervisor will say, oh, I assumed that you were able to do the project. On the other hand, if you're aggressive, you can say, well, this is a project I can't do alone. I need help to do it. But I think Sally and John would be very well to do it. And maybe if I can't do it at all, let them do the project. That's a good idea. So in other words, I'm not really thinking of my rights, but I'm appearing as demanding and hostile. But if I'm assertive, I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you, I really am very frustrated about doing this project. I know you're busy and I'm going to need some help doing it. How can we make this work? And so in assertive behavior, you try to establish some form of collaboration with your supervisor, with your boss, with your colleague, in whatever way that you can. So let's go a little further into passive, aggressive, and assertive communication. So based on these examples, we see passive communication, soft-spoken, quiet, allows others to take advantage. I'm not speaking up about my needs, so others can take advantage. I prioritize the needs of others. I can't tell my boss that I made a date with my friend who's in the neighborhood. Maybe I'm afraid to look at my boss because I know that I'm not respecting myself. I need to tell my boss that I have a friend in town. I can't stay late tonight. So there's poor eye contact. Maybe you look down or away. You're not expressing your own needs or wants. You lack the confidence to tell your supervisor directly, not tonight. No, a no for a response. And in this way, if your supervisor is a bully, they can take advantage of their targets. Now let's look at aggressive communication. In aggressive communication, I'm telling my boss not to ask me. Go ask Sally and John to do the project. So I'm very frustrated that the boss asked me to do this project. I'm going to speak in a loud or overbearing way because I don't want my boss to choose me. I don't want to compromise. I want Sally and John to do the project. Maybe I'll say, well, I think you'll get a better result with Sally and John. So I use critique, I humiliate, I dominate by requesting other people to get involved. I don't want to let my boss speak to me and think anything that I should do this project. And so I might interrupt my supervisor. I might be disrespectful towards my supervisor. And again, bullies will take advantage of the targets who are aggressive because they're not expressing their needs and what they want, but they're saying flat out, go have someone else do it. And I'm saying it, if I'm aggressive, in a very demeaning manner. Now let's take a look at assertiveness. So assertive communication, what it does, you listen to your boss, you don't interrupt your supervisor, and then you say, well, I have a friend in town. I really would like to help you tonight, but I can't stay late. So I clearly state my needs and wants. I'm willing to compromise. I could do this another night. I stand up for my own rights. I'm confident in my tone. I don't have any body language where I'm pointing at my boss, and I make eye contact with my boss. And so I'm calm and collected as I talk. This is very hard to do. We need to practice assertive communication very often. And slowly we learn to be assertive. And why it's important is because if our supervisor is a bully, we will now have tools and strategies to work with these supervisors who are in toxic environments. The problem is not the target. The problem is the bully who's creating the toxic environment. And so, of course, we want to know, if we want to get right to the problem, we want to say, how do we get rid of these toxic environments? So we need to change the culture. We need to put up policies that are accountable, that can be implemented. We need to change our laws. It's a whole set of actions. But in the meantime, when we have our toxic environments, what we do is we get tools and strategies to cope with these environments. I want to look at these comments very much, but I'll go on in the meantime. I'll take a look at later. So let's talk about the rights and needs of individuals. When you're passive, you don't think about your own rights. You think about your supervisor's rights, what your supervisor needs, and that means your supervisor can take advantage. When you're aggressive, you're saying to your supervisor, go to Sally and John, they'll complete the project. We got to tell them, this is the way it's done. I'm not going to do that. So we're thinking about our needs having priority there, so we don't have to do anything. But when we're assertive, we respect both our needs and the needs of others. So we're able to say what we want to say directly and calmly. Okay, so let's talk about the assertive statements. I feel that when you ask me to stay late, I may not be able to stay too long. I've made other commitments for the evening tonight. Or I think it's a good idea, what you suggested, but I can't fulfill it. I cannot fulfill the project. I'm going to need some help. I want some help. Or what about a situation where you feel you need a vacation? And so you tell your boss, we worked so long on this project, and you see how much work I put into it. I did the numbers, I interviewed people, I did some research. It took a long time, and I really neglected my family. I stayed late doing the project, and I was happy to be part of the project. But now I feel I need a vacation. What do you think? So you focus and you're clear about your thoughts and needs and about what you need. And if rejected, you try to negotiate for flexibility. Well, if I don't have the vacation that next week, maybe we can negotiate. Instead of a full week, maybe I can have 3 days. I understand you think I don't need a vacation. However, I do need a vacation in order to spend time with my family. I stayed till 9 p.m. for the last 5 days. So I neglected my family in the process. You see, I've been working very hard on this project. And it would be great to have a very short vacation in January. Sometimes the vacation question is a good example. Sometimes it's not. But again, the idea is to speak about your feelings, your needs, your wants and desires calmly to your boss, to your supervisor, and to cooperate and collaborate with your supervisor. What are the issues? What needs to be done? How can we work together and make this happen? And that's the key. So what we're going to do is we can start by reinforcing our message through email or in person like we just did. We can talk about our vacation that we want. Maybe, you'll say, I'd like to make a change here and I'll have a vacation next week. So you can start through the email and you can say, I reviewed the data. What I did here, this is another situation. After you requested that the data be reviewed, I didn't hear your response to my request for your input. So sometimes people manipulate situations. Supervisors manipulate. They pick up your data, but you don't get a response. What about their inputs? And they don't respond. So you can write an email. What did you think about this? How did it work out? And so being assertive means I've done something. How do you feel about what I've done? Let's talk about more specific assertive statements. Okay, we can respond in a non-defensive manner. Your supervisor criticizes you and makes critical comments in person. And you say, well, okay, I presented this project to our committee and maybe I can see partially or completely what you say. I can acknowledge that there was some errors, but maybe we can all work on this together. So you respond in a non-defensive way by not saying, yes, you're correct, or saying, let John or Sally do it and check on it. But you work with the person, with the supervisor, or whoever you have to work with, acknowledge the statement. I respect what you say. Now let's move forward and let's work on it together. Maybe your boss will say that was a poor presentation that you gave at the lab meeting. So you can say, what was poor about it? What do you suggest that I do better? Well, maybe the person will say, be concise, give examples. Let's work together so that we can figure out how to improve this presentation. Or you can say, yes, I see there's some areas that could be improved. Again, you're not saying directly, yes, you're right, but you're saying, yes, I'm working with you. There are some areas that can be improved. So being assertive means sticking up for yourself, seeing your supervisor's point of view, but also seeing your own point of view. And so you want to say what you want to say at the right time, when you're trying to be assertive. Okay, and that's the next slide so that you can see it. Thank you. So you want to maintain direct eye contact. You want to keep your posture open and relaxed. You don't want to be pointing fingers. That doesn't work. Your facial expression should be calmly coincident with your message. You don't want to appear tensed and stressed and say to yourself, I know my supervisor won't like it, and start working yourself up. You say what needs to be said, or you need to write it down. So write it down first so you can be calm about it. Keep your voice modulated. That means self-regulation. You don't want to appear aggressive and hostile and demeaning, and you don't want to appear meek and self-defeating. So you keep your voice modulated. If you can, you choose an appropriate time and place. So if my supervisor wants to see me, well, I can't see you right now, but if you like, maybe Monday morning, we can talk further. And then you also look for support. Maybe there are other people that you can find in your department who can support you. And this is how you can say what you want to say. Sometimes these other people in the department don't want you to mention their name. So you need to use judgment when you look for support. But the idea is to be as relaxed as you can be, given the situation, when you need to confront your supervisor. And again, I'm using the supervisor as the person or the boss, or it could be another colleague. But again, the issue is these are tools and strategies that help you deal with this toxic environment. And that's what the purpose is here, is to empower everyone so that they feel confident in using these tools. So when you choose to be assertive, you're asking yourself some questions. Will it make a difference? If I say to my boss, no, I'm not getting your coffee today at 10 a.m., will it really make a difference? What really happened here? Or should I say, I really don't want to get up. Okay, I'm too tired to get up. Or you can say, I'm not feeling well today. I'd like to get your coffee. Please give me a chance. It'll take a few minutes. So when you choose to be assertive, you keep your tone regulated, modulated. What really happened here? How much does it matter? Am I looking for a specific outcome? Do I have a boss who'll say, I'm firing you because you didn't get my coffee, or I'm firing you because you didn't work on the project? Then you need to think of other strategies. The idea is to empower ourselves so that we can work with these circumstances. Do I know what I want? Well, I know I'm not feeling well today. I know that I really don't want to get that coffee today. Okay, but so I'll express, not that I don't want to do it. I mean, there is some thought involved here. We can say, I'm not feeling well today. It's hard for me to get up. It'll take me a few more minutes to get up. What is the probability of getting what I want? Well, if I don't want to get my boss the coffee, is that part of my job to get the coffee? What are my options? And sometimes we need to think of options. And one of them is being transferred to another department, or another one is looking for other jobs. We need to be aware of what's going on, especially if we don't have a contract. So you need to ask yourself some questions when you're being assertive. And we need to be accountable and take responsibility for our actions. I see I have a different order on my handout here. So if the situation is complicated and you have a lot of feelings about it, maybe it's best to plan a meeting in the future. So I certainly am privy to one of these where some colleague in my department wanted to speak to the chair about a tenure issue. And what do I need to do about tenure? The boss didn't really talk to him about it, unfortunately, at that time. It came to me as a union leader in the department. Okay, but again, you want to plan a meeting and you also want to prepare. So you prepare yourself for what needs to be discussed and what you expect from your supervisor or your chair or your boss. Alternatively, meeting at the moment, right now, may be best depending on the situation if you don't want to deal with it later. The idea is not to make a big deal, but don't wait too long. Select appropriate time to be assertive. If the conversation is sensitive, choose that private meeting time and place. But think about it carefully when you want to be assertive. Okay, the next slide. So we have the rights of individuals. And that's what we do and what we feel when we're assertive. We have dignity and self-respect. We say no when justified without feeling guilty. Oh, I feel so badly today. My boss asked me to stay late and I just couldn't do it. Well, I can't feel guilty about that. My friend is in town, or I need to take my mother to the doctor, or I need to take my child to the doctor, or I need to go to a play with somebody. Maybe my child is involved in a play, or maybe I have a date with someone, with my companion. In other words, saying no, those are good reasons for saying no. You just can't stay late today, even though you'd like to help the boss, and it's part of your job. So you express your feelings. You ask for what you want directly. Well, maybe if I can't stay late on Thursday, maybe on Monday I can stay late. Feel good about yourself when you're assertive. And also notice that you can change your mind. Well, if I can't stay on Monday, I'm not sure, maybe it'll be Tuesday. But negotiate, reach compromises, collaborate with your boss, with your supervisor when there's conflict. And notice and take charge, recognize that you can make mistakes. That's part of the process. You can't have your boss say, you made a mistake. That person is bordering on bullying behavior. I don't like when you speak to me in that fashion. Everybody makes mistakes. So accept the situation, whatever needs to be done. So behaving assertively means that you have the following rights. I might say, I don't know. Can you work on this project today? I don't know. It means to say no. Well, tonight I can't stay late. It means to have an opinion and express it. We're not asking for you to get into involved discussions that are not usually discussed in the office setting, political discussions, whatever they may be, personal discussions. That's not the issue. But I don't like that textbook that you're using because it views the subject matter not in a concise way and it doesn't give examples. That's an opinion. In other words, the textbook is a problem for you and you want to be able to express it and you want people to judge you in a way, non-judgmentally, that it is fine to express that opinion. So let me repeat what I just said. You don't want people to judge you for your opinion. That's really very important. I'm not reading the whole thing on the bottom. I'm reading about the incidents. Okay. And so when incidents happen, you're ready to deal with the incident. You may have an opinion about it. You may express yourself. Maybe you have a feeling about that incident. Maybe, this is how it has to happen, or maybe this is how it doesn't have to happen. But the idea is to make your own decisions and to deal with the consequences. You're accountable to yourself. You can change your mind. You choose how to spend your time. Understand that mistakes can happen. And this is a right, okay? It's your inalienable right, your right to free time. That means I don't have to stay till 9 o'clock. I don't have to come in on the weekends to check on the computers. Okay, that's my free time. You can add that to your list on what your rights are. And that's how you will conduct yourself. Okay, the next slide. Okay, we're up to the scenarios. And I think I'll say the scenario. And I think Pam is going to help me with the results. But we're thinking about the following. Your boss asks you to stay late and everyone's leaving. You're always the one who stays late. And tonight, you have plans to bring your parents to the doctor's office. So let's take a poll. How would you respond?
I've just put it up.
Okay, great. Shall I go over how to respond, or everyone?
Does everybody see the poll? Yes. Okay, great.
Oh, great.
It is anonymous, so
That's right. I appreciate the honesty of everyone.
Clara, you tell me when. I've got about
Okay.
35 responses.
Are people still signing in? Don't I want to just read it? Read the possibilities.
Okay.
Okay, and one possibility. I would love to stay, but I made plans to attend the doctor's appointment of my parents a month ago. And I see 81% have said that.
I'm going to share the results.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we got 36 responses. So I'm sharing the results. And I'm going to stop sharing now.
Okay. Can I summarize?
Sure.
Okay, so 81% said, look, I made a date for my parents, a medical examination a month ago. Can't stay tonight. But you say it in a reasonable fashion. I'd like to work with you. Another possibility is I have other pressing family responsibilities. I told my friend I was going to come, but you know what? I'm going to stay. Okay, even though the appointment can't be rescheduled at the last minute. So I'm going to stay, 11%. And then there's another bunch where 8% just have another response. You know, I stay late all the time. We need someone able to stay late. Who can stay late? I appreciate, again, the honesty, because depending on the situation, we react differently in different times. But again, the point of all this is to empower ourselves, to develop the tools and strategies that we need so we can stand up to others, we can stop bullying, and we can express ourselves as comfortably as possible. Okay. Then there's another scenario, and I guess we're going to be doing breakout rooms. Okay, we have monthly meetings of the department and staff members who are responsible for giving monthly reports. Chairperson consistently sends data from monthly reports to some staffer in your department on Fridays at 4:30 p.m. for a Monday at 9 a.m. department meeting next week. This is, unfortunately, I have heard about these situations. Unfortunately, that's my breeding ground at my college. Staffers' work schedule is Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and is not authorized to work overtime. Data processing and report preparation can take 3 hours. And the chairperson says to the staffer, Monday's department meeting is very important. Our team is counting on you. So keep in mind the data is sent to somebody in the department, to a staffer on Friday at 4:30. It takes typically 3 hours to analyze and to go through the data processing that you need to do. And now you have a Monday at 9 a.m. department meeting next week where you need to present this data. So it's inevitable that the chair has set this staffer up to do work at home. And then the chairperson, by the way, I forgot, on that Friday at 4:55, knocks on the staffer's door and says, you know what, I forgot to tell you, your annual evaluation is taking place Wednesday of next week at 9 a.m. I'll look forward to your report at the department meeting on Monday. Have a great weekend. How does one respond? That's the question. Passively, aggressively, and assertively. Okay, the question is, how do you respond here?
So, oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I set up a notes document. So I said, for the breakout rooms, and I just dropped that link in there. So if you pick a note taker, just so you'll be able to recall it later.
Okay.
But what the questions I have, what are the staffer's possible responsive, passive, aggressive, and assertive? Meaning, give an example of each one. What would be a passive response? What's the assertive? What's the aggressive?
Excellent.
And then what are some strategies to respond to the chair? Healthy strategies, I should add.
Excellent. Right.
Okay. All right. So we have 8. We have, actually we'll have 7 groups.
So I wanted to show everyone the appendix. These are, I guess these are tables that I picked up from another agency. And so if you want to know how assertive are you can go through this exercise. There's a self-esteem journal, again, talking about how you feel about yourself and how you want to appear to others. Communication styles are very, very important in terms of how you respond to people in general, and beliefs with your eyes, your posture. Again, we want to be relaxed. We want to be treated with dignity and respect. And we want to be able to say what we have to say without any fear of retaliation. And that's how I started this. This is very, very important in terms of the bullies out there, in terms of the toxic environment out there. What we're doing is gaining skills here through this workshop and understanding through these skills how to empower ourselves and fight this toxic environment. And so these are communication skills, and these are some of the resources that we used in the PowerPoint as well as in the survey. If you have any final questions, we have about a minute left here. Please let us know, or you can write. I saw Pam gave her email, and I have my email. You can write to us, and we can let you know how it goes. Okay. Any final questions here? Okay, somebody would like a copy of the PowerPoint. So Amy, can we get the PowerPoint over to whoever wants that?
Yeah, the PowerPoint, and we're gonna trim the recording of the presentation, and that will all be available on the PSC website. Give us like a day or two, and we'll have it out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for spending the evening with us.